Hey, what's up? Welcome back to my channel. I'm Ivy, and today I'm going to be doing my March wrap-up and April TBR. I'm going to be talking about the shows, movies, and books that I consumed in March, and the books that I want to read in April. And by books, I mean book, but we'll talk about that at the end. We're gonna start with shows. The first thing is WandaVision. This is part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. If you have never watched anything Marvel before, I highly recommend that you watch more Marvel stuff before you watch this. All that you really want to know going into this is that Wanda Maximoff and Vision are inexplicably in a soap opera. Yeah, it's very weird. The beginning of this show was fantastic. The atmosphere was just so much fun. Like, you're in a soap opera. It's just such a brilliant concept for a Marvel show, and the mystery of it all, like what the heck is going on here, was so intriguing. But then it completely fell off for me. I kid you not, I was loving it. I thought it was going to be like one of my new favorite parts of Marvel, and then it just wasn't. It kind of revealed everything way too early. I think it should have stayed the way it was in the beginning for much, much longer, because it just kind of slipped back into that normal Marvel formula that, you know, it's fine, it's good, but it's just so overused at this point. I just was not invested at all after, like, it started getting boring. There was a trio of characters that were having a great arc, and I was really enjoying all of the times that they were on screen, and then in the last, like, 2 episodes, they completely disappeared. Not completely, but it was like they weren't even there anymore, and there was this whole, like, plot of them, and then it was like, no, they're just not gonna be on screen anymore, and you're not gonna know what's going on with them ever. There was a particular villain person who I was so excited for. I was like, oh my gosh, this is going to be good, and then it was so disappointing because it was just very meh. That goes along with some of the action scenes between said antagonist and Wanda. They were so bad. Like, so boring. It was like I was watching Harry Potter again. Like, nothing against Harry Potter. Those movies are all great. But, like, we all know the wizard duels are so stupid. Like, that's what we were watching. Some of the dialogue was just bad. Like, in the beginning of the show, it was cheesy in a good way. It was supposed to be funny. By the end of the show, it was still cheesy, but it was just cringy at that point. I do really appreciate the fact that there were so many female characters in this show. It's about time that Marvel is getting up to speed with some badass females in there. It's definitely setting up some exciting stuff. It just was not for me. I gave it 3.5 out of 5 stars, and it did not make me cry. Next is the Queens Gambit. This is essentially just about a badass female chess player in the 50s and 60s, and we get to watch her grow up and become the star that she is and beat all the guys. Anya Taylor-Joy, who plays Beth, the main character, is so good. It's one of the best acting performances I've ever seen, and when I say that, I sound like I'm such an acting expert, but, like, I do watch a lot of content, and it was so good. She can just express so much with just her eyes. She's one of those actors, and I loved watching her. It made chess super exciting, and it made me want to learn how to play. I loved Beth. She had such great character development, because, you know, we're watching her life, pretty much. I was rooting for her so hard throughout the entire show. I wanted her to win so badly, and when she was kind of in a rut, when things were hard, I was so upset and I wanted her to be okay. There are definitely some dark and intense themes in this show, but I think they handled it very well, and it wasn't, like, overly milked for the drama. Like, I think they did a good job of using it well. Something that I really thought was cool was it wasn't trying to be overly feminist, if that makes sense. Like, that's not what it was about. It was feminist without really trying to be feminist. Does that make sense? It didn't make, like, such a big deal out of it because, I don't know, it's just, it's normal, you know, for women to be powerful. The soundtrack was fantastic. I was just bopping along, and also just how it was shot. There were so many creative, like, camera angles, I guess, that I really liked it. It was really pleasing to the eye. I give it 5 out of 5 stars, and it did not make me cry. I watched a crap ton of movies this month, so get ready. First, we have 16 Candles. So, this movie follows a girl, and everyone, pretty much, I think everyone has forgotten her 16th birthday. This is such a dated and cringy movie. It was really, really rough watching it in this day and age. It treats its female characters and this one Asian character so incredibly horribly. Like, I can't even begin to describe to you all the issues with this movie. Yeah, it was a mess. And I understand that it never would have been made now, but that still doesn't make it okay. Like, you can say it's dated, it's fine, but no, it's definitely very problematic. There were some funny moments, that were enjoyable, but overall, it was just cringy. Like, I couldn't get past the yikesness of it. So I gave it 2 out of 5 stars, and I did not cry. Next is The Matrix, and this was the most disappointing thing I've ever seen. I don't even want to describe to you what it's about because it's a movie that you just kind of want to jump into, but I had such high expectations for this movie because everyone's always like, oh my god, The Matrix, it's such a classic, it's like such a big thing. If you're like a nerd at all, you need to watch The Matrix, you need to love The Matrix. I was expecting my mind to be blown, but instead I was just bored and honestly laughing at it and making fun of it for most of the time because it was that stupid. I do want to say I do understand how it was so influential and why so many people love it. There was absolutely no character development. I couldn't even name any of the characters at this point because I just didn't care about them at all. And that's a problem when you're watching these people fighting for their lives and there's people dying and you just don't care at all. And for me, the most important part of watching a movie is that I latch on to the people and I don't want them to die. There were a few female characters. There was only one that really had a major part, and her entire arc was being in love with one of the characters. Literally, the only reason she was there was to be in love with this person, and I cannot stand that one bit. There were some things that just didn't make any sense, like so many plot holes that I'm not gonna get into because I don't have time to rant all day. They were fighting to protect this place. We never saw what they were fighting to protect, so I didn't care. The action scenes. I know the action scenes are supposed to be groundbreaking, and the special effects were so, like, never seen before when it came out. Maybe if I had watched it when it came out, I would have thought differently, but I just thought the action scenes were stupid. Like, the slow-mos, that one scene with the sunglasses when they walk into that one place with the sunglasses and they're like, oh my gosh, we have all these guns now. Like, I don't care. That was stupid. I hated it. I gave it 2.5 out of 5 stars. It did not make me cry. Well, okay, the thing that would make me cry was how disappointing it was. Next is The Trial of the Chicago 7. This movie follows the trial of the organizers of anti-Vietnam War protests that turned into riots at the Democratic National Convention in Chicago in 1968. So the protests turned into riots, and now 7 organizers are on trial. It's based on true events. It's definitely dramatized a lot, but I did some research after finishing the movie, and a lot of it is rooted in truth. Like, you would be surprised at how much of this movie is actually true. There are so many awesome people in the cast. It's such a good showcase of so many talented actors. The story unfolds beautifully. It's told in non-linear fashion. So we're in the trial, and then we're getting some flashbacks, and then we're also getting some flash forwards, and it's so good. The ending of this movie was like one of the best movie endings I've ever seen. It was just a perfect movie ending. It reminded me of what movie magic means. It covers some very, 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 very timely topics. There's so many great discussions that this movie can start, and I think it really invites the audience to think about what's going on, because The movie doesn't really tell you what to think, it just kind of gets the conversation going and it acknowledges multiple sides of certain issues, and I thought it was handled so well. I can't stop thinking about it. I think about this movie pretty much every day. It was so intense at certain points that it made me sick, like, not like throwing up, but I felt nauseous. And it made me angry because holy crap, there's some messed up stuff. The characters, who are based on real people, they're just all so intense and very extreme. Lots of extreme personalities, but I loved them all and was so inspired by their passion and their fight. In conclusion, this is one of my favorite movies of all time now. It's definitely one of the best movies I have ever seen, and I gave it 5 out of 5 stars, and it did not make me cry, but I was almost there. Yes, God, yes. Oh, this one's a bit hard to describe. It's very artsy, I would say, at least to me, and very odd to me, but I kind of liked it. Natalia Dyer plays this high school girl. She's a Catholic schoolgirl who has been very suppressed her entire life, and essentially the entire movie is just her sexual awakening. I think it's definitely supposed to be a dark comedy. There's some very extreme situations and extremely stereotypical people in this movie, but like in a hilarious way. There were definitely some serious undertones that demanded your attention when watching this movie. This one is really hard for me to articulate thoughts about. I don't know, it's very interesting. That's all I got. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars and I did not cry. I rewatched Dunkirk, which is a World War II movie. It's again based on true events. Basically, the entire British army and a lot of French soldiers as well have been trapped at Dunkirk beach, and they are sitting ducks for bombings and attacks, and they are relentlessly bombed. This is another one that's told in a non-linear style because we have 3 different fronts. So you're like at the beach, and then you're on sea, and then you're in the air. And I will say, it made a lot more sense the second time around. It's very intense. I mean, it's a war movie, so you can probably guess that. There's very little dialogue, and it was just gripping the entire time. It was really good. There's some very good, quiet, and understated acting. I don't know if I'm using that word correctly, but the acting is really good. It's just sometimes overshadowed by, you know, all the explosions and all the action that's happening because of, you know, what this movie is about. So next is The Perks of Being a Wallflower. It's a found family story about high schoolers who kind of find family with each other, and it deals with mental health and other pretty heavy topics. It's heartbreaking in a whole lot of ways, but it also made me very happy in many ways, specifically because of the found family aspect. I'm such a sucker for that. Logan Lerman, who plays the main character, was so good. I've never seen him act like that before. Not that I've seen like much with him in it, but he was fantastic. This was just such a refreshingly good high school movie. I feel like I've watched a lot of just okay ones recently. It was really impactful too. It made me think. It made me feel a lot of feelings, and I really need to read the book now. I gave this one 4.5 out of 5 stars, and I did not cry. No, wait. Yes, I did cry. I cried during this one. See? It made me feel things. Next is It's Kind of a Funny Story. So this is one of the meh ones that I was talking about. We follow a main character whose name I forget, after he has checked himself into a psych ward because he was thinking about killing himself. It definitely handles mental health in a very interesting way. I watched this movie because it was under comedy on like Amazon Prime, I think it was. I would not call this a comedy at all. Yes, there were a few funny moments, but to me, at least, it was a very serious movie. Honestly, I didn't care about what was going on that much. There wasn't much of a plot. The characters weren't really developed at all. It was also in a really weird style that I just was not a fan of. I gave it 2.5 out of 5 stars, and I did not cry. So then I watched Moxie. This is about a high school girl named Vivian who starts an anonymous zine at her small town Texas high school, and she kind of sparks a feminist rebellion. I thought that the movie did a pretty decent job of capturing the heart of the book, just as far as the overall message and feeling. The script was very cringy at times, and there was a lot of stuff that... Oh, my dog is at my door. What do you want? You can't go on my bed. No, I know. Here, lie down. Or leave. He doesn't know what to do. Bye, love. Really? Anyways, there were just some things in here that didn't make sense. Like, a lot of it was over the top for no reason. There's a scene when the main character Vivian is at dinner and they're talking about something completely unrelated to this whole thing, and then she just stands up and she's like, F the patriarchy. I'm like, whoa, like, I agree with the sentiment, but it was just so random and didn't make sense. I loved watching the girls come together. That was honestly my favorite part of this movie. Lucy, the actress who played Lucy, was incredible. She was definitely my favorite. Honestly, I expected the movie to have more of a punch. I'm not sure why it didn't. Like, I can't articulate to you why it wasn't as powerful as I was expecting. It was still powerful, don't get me wrong, and I still really enjoyed it, but it wasn't quite as... I don't know. It just was missing something. You should read the book, because the book is fantastic. I give the movie 4 out of 5 stars, and it did not make me cry. Alright, so time for the books that I read. First, we have Wayward Sun by Rainbow Rowell. This is the second book in the Simon Snow series. What happened here? I loved Carry On, the first book. Like, I absolutely adore that book. It was so good. It was so much fun. The characters were great in it. I loved every second of it. This, ooh, thunder. I don't even know where to begin. I don't really know how to tell you why I didn't like this one very much. I just didn't. We're following the characters on a road trip across America, which sounds like it would be a really fun time, but it was just boring to me. I think after what I was so used to in the first book, which is more of like a fun fantasy romp, this road trip thing was just not working for me. I was bored. I didn't care about what was going on. Not even when it started to pick up, finally. Like, it took forever for it to get even the tiniest bit interesting, but I still didn't care. I found that the characters were getting on my nerves, which made me so sad, but like, I could not stand Penny. Like, she was driving me bonkers. And Simon and Baz, there was just so much angst, and it felt so unnecessary to me. Like, they were so angsty for no reason. I'm hoping that the third book will be better. I feel like this could have been a bridge book. If it's a bridge book, I might be able to accept it more. But I gave it 2.5 out of 5 stars, and it did not make me cry. The other thing I read was the Moxie book, which is by Jennifer Mathieu. I don't know if I'm saying that correctly. I hope I am. I think that every high schooler should read this. Not just girls. Boys should read it too, and everyone in between. It's empowering. It's important. It's so full of hope and joy, and it's so good. It, of course, made me angry, about the world and what us girls have to go through and deal with still, but it also made me hopeful that there can and will be change, and that we're gonna stick together and be okay. We got this. The girls in this book are so inspiring. I adore them so much. They developed so much throughout the book. Like, every single female character in here just grew into themselves. It made me so proud to be a woman. Not that I wasn't already proud, but it reminded me of why I'm so proud. It was a unique and special story. Like, I've never read anything like this, but it also had some very familiar aspects. You know, you've got the cute new boy and family drama and friendship tension, which a lot of it was kind of meh, like it was something I'd seen before, but that wasn't the point of this book. I will say, the romantic relationship that's in here, I really, really liked it. The relationship itself, like, I don't really care. Like, I'm not shipping the characters super hard. It was more so what it added to the overall message of the book. I thought it was handled really well because their relationship was just so healthy, and I thought it was important for this book to not do the whole, like, if you're a feminist, you can't have a boyfriend thing, because you can be a feminist and have a boyfriend, especially if said boyfriend is really not perfect. Like, it did a good job of showing that he will never understand fully what, you know, this whole feminist thing is and what Vivian and her friends are dealing with, but he tries so hard and he does the right thing in trying to learn. He's constantly learning, he's constantly trying to do better, and it was just important that it showed that. My one complaint with this book is that the writing style got a little repetitive at times. Like, for some reason, it would constantly be reminding us that Vivian was the one who started Moxie, which is the name of the zine that she starts. And, like, yeah, we know she started Moxie, you don't have to keep telling us that. And there were some other examples of that, but it was nothing compared to how much I loved this book. I gave it 4.5 out of 5 stars, and I did not cry. Lastly, I just want to read Chain of Iron by Cassandra Clare. I'm like halfway through it, a little less than halfway through it. I've been talking about this book for so long. It's taking me forever. It's gigantic. I'm reading it though, so yay me. This is the second book in the Last Hours trilogy, which is part of the Shadowhunters Chronicles. It's set right at the beginning of the 1900s. We're following Cordelia Carstairs and James and Lucy Herondale and Matthew Fairchild and Thomas and Christopher Lightwood and Anna Lightwood and Grace Blackthorne and all these people. It's great. You should read Shadowhunters. That's all I have to say because spoilers. That is it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you have a fantastic day, and I will see you next time with another video. Bye.